you what the fear was. You said socialism, and then I jumped in. So is it that you do you fear dictatorship like we see in Venezuela? What about socialism is it that you feel is the most imminent threat?
Big government, to me, is the biggest threat. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. You can either be free or you can be dependent on the government. When the people talk about being socialist Democrats or democratic socialists, that's a really nice way to package it, but the two terms are an oxymoron. If you're dependent on the government for everything, you are not truly free. You cannot live in a democracy where you are then dependent upon the government for all of your worldly desires, needs. Now, the federal job program that Bernie was pushing on the stage, your health care, your college, when you're dependent on the government for all those things, then you're going to just tax the wealthy. I'm going to tell you this, the thing about the wealthy is they can move, and they're not going to stay there under plans like...
They should move then, but they don't.
They will. They
don't. They do the tax shelters, but they never move.
But what do you think is going to happen?
Especially the old companies, where are they going to go?
Well, right now, what we're seeing happening in California is a microcosm of what's going to happen in the rest of this country if we allow big government to take over. You're seeing companies leave California for that reason. You're seeing people leave California for that reason. Overtaxed, overregulated, government is too big. That's why they're taking Toyota to Texas. That's why they're fleeing.
So I want to give you an example of big government. I want to get your thoughts on it, because this is something the government does. And when I say government, it means all of us as US taxpayers, right? So we fund the research and development for all these...
Stop. When she talks about, and she says, I mean all of us, all of you out there is big government. Big government is using our money. Big government is not us. Again, Anna, okay, you've got to realize, okay, that when you make your points, make them so that, they make sense, honey. For you to say that we're big government, no, we're not. We're the American people. We're the American taxpayers. We're the ones that fund big government. It's the people in Washington, D.C. It's the people at the state level, the local level, the federal level, the people that we put in place that make the policies that we want policies, but they don't listen to us and make policies that are conducive for them and their lifestyle and for the people that really contribute hugely to their re-election process. That's big government. The deep state, that's big government. We're not big government. We just happen to fund big government. And the only reason we fund big government is through taxation, which is theft and confiscation. That's what's happening.
Massive corporations. Our tax dollars fund the research and development of pharmaceutical drugs. Then those companies, of course, turn around and they price gouge us, right? We help fund the research and development for massive corporations like Google. Right? So big government, I know it sounds real scary, but we're the government. We as US taxpayers, we're the ones who create these successful corporations. And all I'm saying is that we deserve something in return. And unfortunately, we've gotten the complete opposite. And I'm just tired of these talking points.
Government is not creating, these huge corporations. I don't know what the hell she's talking about. This is a playbook from Obama. Hey, you didn't build that. Government built that. You didn't build the roads. Government built the roads. I mean, just unbelievable. The way you're starting off is that government did not build companies. They did not build corporations. They might have done in a few instances or whatever. And as you said, with bailouts or with, grants or with money, given to them, but not, the numbers are not in the favor of government starting companies. That's small businesses. Every large company, every large corporation at one time start off as a small business in someone's home, in someone's garage, in a small warehouse. And then because of productivity and the need for the product or the service grew. Government had nothing to do with that. In fact, government regulation stifles growth at every possible time. And that's why when Trump was in office, he was getting rid of 4 or 5 or 6 regulations for every new one that was being put in the book, stripping them out of the regulatory books so that small businesses and large businesses could continue to flourish and thrive without the regulatory burden of those policies that were keeping them back.
Because look, I think big government is a problem when they're telling me what I can do with my body. I think big government is a problem when they tell us who we can and can't marry or what type of sex we're allowed to have, which was actually a thing back in the day. That's big government. But when it comes to social services that we've paid into, we deserve to get something back.
But how's that working out? How are those things we've paid into working out?
Well, they're severely underfunded just so we can give the wealthy massive tax cuts. What I'm asking
is if your solution to everything, and I don't know if it's yours, but it certainly is Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders, their solution to everything is tax the wealthy, tax the wealthy. If those wealthy folks leave or they do put their money elsewhere in whatever creative way you can fantasize about in your mind, and we don't have that money, then who pays for all these social programs? Who is going to get pinched? Well, I can give you the answer because we live in California and we know it's the middle class that gets pinched. In California, you've got the very, very wealthy that can afford it, and you've got the homeless. And then you've got the middle who are fleeing to the Inland Empire, they're fleeing to Phoenix, they're fleeing to Dallas, Texas. They're fleeing because they can't afford it. They can't.
Right.
They're the ones that are getting squeezed.
Going on. There's a lot going on in California, and I don't know if this one debate it gives us enough time to cover it, but there is severe corruption in California. There's an issue with foreign investment in real estate in California, which artificially inflates the property values and leads to homelessness in California. You have real estate developers who are running amok, and that's part of the corruption. I mean, we unfortunately don't have time to get into all of that, but the idea that wealthy people are gonna flee, that these corporations are gonna flee, I mean, we still subsidize oil companies to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars every year. Where are they gonna go? The oil is here. You know, like that's an example. One other example is the top marginal tax rate in the United States used to be 91%. They didn't leave, okay?
It used to be 91%, okay, back in, we're talking, okay, 20s, 30s. But guess what? Nobody paid that. They didn't pay 91%. They just basically said it was 91%, and they were effectively paying much, much, much less. Come on, Anna, get your stuff straight.
Okay, so if you want to leave, have at it. But I think that if you're living in this country and you've taken advantage of the opportunities that this country has given you, you're not allowed to shut the door behind you. And I'm not talking about equality of outcome, I'm talking about equality of opportunity. We should have a system that's fair, that gives people their opportunity to shine and work themselves up the economic ladder.
And
that's all I'm
saying. And we agree.
We do, it's called the educational system.
On that statement, we don't agree how to get there. I believe innovation is fostered through competition, through the free marketplace.
And taxpayer money, through research and development.
But you realize that the government's also funding research and development for all of your alternative fuel companies, for all the research. I mean, it's not just, they're not just fueling corporate. I mean, to say that our government, our taxpayer dollars are funding corporations and then to not look at all the other areas that they're funding, is government spending a problem? Absolutely.
I would imagine that if someone developed an alternative energy, historically speaking, the government would let a company take it over and profit from it, correct?
Not in Bernie Sanders' America, not in Elizabeth Warren's America. Innovation is fostered through the free marketplace and competition. It is not fostered through handouts, through socialism, through government regulation. And that's why we're seeing the economy doing well now, because President Trump has gotten rid of a lot of the Obama-era regulations that were crushing small business. That is still the backbone of our nation. And when small businesses can't function, then they can't hire, and then they can't have high-paying jobs. When they're given all these government mandates of $15 an hour minimum wage, then they can't hire as many employees. So yes, those employees that they have might be making what they consider a living wage, but then the other person just doesn't have a job. So then they rely on the social program. It's not a way to live.
I agree with you in that small businesses would have a difficult time paying $15 an hour to their employees, which is why I think it makes all the sense in the world to stop subsidizing corporations that are already very successful and subsidize small businesses so they can pay a living wage and also grow themselves.
So it was interesting to me when you rebutted what I said a second ago. You said, well, it would in Bernie Sanders' America and it would in Elizabeth Warren's America. And my initial reaction was to say, well, that actually makes the argument for Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren, because Well, to certain people, what I said and what you said would happen in their worlds. That's what a certain part of this audience wants. The people who support Bernie Sanders, the people who support Elizabeth Warren, they think that's great. To people who agree with you more, they think that's horrible. So how do we, I mean, it seems like on both sides we're handing out facts on this side and facts on this side and talking points on this side and on this side that are really continuing to speak to our audience, and we're not doing too much to change anybody's mind. If you came here supportive of Ana, you probably are going to leave supportive of Ana, and if you came here supportive of Tomi, you're going to leave supportive of Tomi. What do you, and listen, and that's great, whoever you came here for, but what do you find is most effective for you when you need to change somebody's mind?
When I go into conversations like this, I don't have any delusions of changing Ana's mind or yours or anybody else's. I think it's about having a conversation in this country about our values, and they are different. And it's okay to have conversations about differing values, because that's why we have the two parties that we have and the various political ideologies that we have. We have conservatism, we have liberalism, we have progressivism, we have Republicans, Democrats, we have everybody in the middle, libertarians, all of that, to have a discussion. Sometimes there's not a solution that both sides can agree to. That's why we have Congress that can hopefully get somewhere in that middle. Right now, that's not happening.
But doesn't that make people mad? It seems like, to me, people get more mad if you find a solution somewhere in the middle than if you choose something. I mean, listen, I think a lot of people have made the argument that one of the reasons President Trump has doubled down on his base and only his base is because he made a calculation with Steve Bannon that it doesn't matter whether I compromise or whether I moderate, I'm never going to win the people on the left. So what's the point in moderating or compromising?
But he did win people on the left. He won states that he wouldn't otherwise have.
Well, he won states that he otherwise wouldn't have had. But
well,
those are people there, you idiot. And once again, oh my goodness. Okay, I just have to stop and do this thing here because, Clay Aiken, a toothache is starting to, permeate through many, many teeth right now. You're too much verbal diarrhea on your part. And then when you make a statement, you make a stupid statement like, oh, you know what? There's just not too many. President Trump, he didn't do anything. He didn't win anybody over on the other side. Okay, he just wanted to keep that thing over there. And then she goes, what do you mean you're talking about? Well, yeah, he won those states. Well, those states are comprised of people, you stupid, idiotic, moronic retard. You're starting to simmer, S-I-M-R, a little bit now, Clay Aiken. Unbelievably stupid remarks.